When I play up game and then talk, I'm trying, Jennifer.
Rip City, we have missed you guys. It's been like 3-4 weeks. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a long time. But we're back. We're here. We're doing another podcast. We're doing another episode. Fawad's here with me tonight. Fawad, it's been a couple weeks. How have you been?
I've been so sick for the last just under 2 weeks now. I think I'm going on day 12 right now. I'm like 95% there, but the last like 10 days were horrible for me. So happy that I'm on the way up, but it's been tough.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you're still a little nasally.
Yeah,
I
you
can
can
hear it a little
probably
bit.
you can probably hear it.
The quest for a new computer, is that still continuing, or do you have a new computer? New laptop?
Very very excited to announce that 3 days ago I got a new laptop.
Ooh, the quest is complete. It is over.
Very excited. It's working great so far. It's been a long time coming.
Well, then, in that case, now we're gonna have to figure out something else to track now. But we've been gone for at least 3 weeks. I think at least 3.
I don't
Um,
remember actually.
it feels like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is in that 3 weeks or 2 weeks or however long it's been, not much has happened. I mean, we talked about it in our last podcast. It's kind of the dead zone of the off
Mhm.
season. So there wasn't a lot to be expected. But when you have such a massive headline as Dame asking for a trade, you kind of expect things to somewhat happen. And pretty much it's been the same as it's always been. There's not been really anything. We don't want to talk. We don't want to spend. I mean, we've spent like the last 2 or 3 podcasts just talking about Dame trades and everything. And it's time to move on from that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But there are a couple of things we want to touch on. So before we do that, let's just get this out of the way. Let's get the schedule out of the way. Thanks to Fawad, we have all these dates. The preseason starts October 5th. So we're getting close. We're getting close. Regular season is October 24th. That is the first regular season game, not for us, just for the NBA. So I do not believe we're playing opening night. So I don't think we'll be playing on October 24th. Training camp for us most likely is going to be October 3rd. So a couple days before preseason starts. So we're getting close. All my football fans out there, if you love football, we're even closer to football. We get to, I believe college football starts next weekend. So we're getting close. But let's briefly touch on something real quick. A couple, I don't know, it's probably at least been a month now. We cut Trendon Watford, and a lot of us were puzzled by it, and we didn't quite understand why. I don't even know if we really talked about this. Did we? Do you recall talking about this?
No, I think we might have mentioned that he got cut, but we didn't actually talk about it.
So let's just briefly touch on this. The cutting him doesn't make much sense, especially with where we're headed now. Like now, it doesn't make sense at all. But he did get picked up. He went to Brooklyn. I think it's just a 1-year deal, right?
Probably, yeah. I don't think I saw the details, but I would assume 1-year deal.
So I mean, we know what Trendon can do, and I wish him the best in Brooklyn, and I'm sure he'll probably be a pretty good player for them. But do you want to add anything on Watford?
Yeah, it made no sense to me. I've seen the arguments from some people. They don't make sense to me either. Like, he was a good young player on an amazing contract. And,
Yes.
Worst case scenario, he was a positive player. So even if he's like the 14th best guy on the team, which he obviously wasn't, he was higher than that. Like, there's no reason not to keep him. And if you're not going to keep him, we could have gotten a second or maybe even 2 in a trade, I feel like. But there's no reason not to keep him, develop him. Some people are talking about redundancies with Jabari Walker. You're allowed to develop 2 forwards. I know, we have 8 guards at one time in any given season. We can have more than 1 forward on the bench. So And especially with Portland, with all our bigs getting injured, there was no reason not to keep him unless, again, unless there was something behind the scenes where I don't know, he wanted a bigger role or something, which I highly doubt. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm gonna be watching him in Brooklyn. I hope he does well. A post KD Brooklyn, I think that could be a good situation for him. With a lot of young players around him, I think that's a good place where he might be able to develop. So I'll be excited to watch him. The move still doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to add anything to it. It doesn't make sense, and it would at this point it would be nice to have him on our team and see what he a more balanced offense, because I think that is what we're going to see now is a more balanced offense. Well, that is if Dame gets traded. I mean, but let's talk about this. This is the only thing that we're going to really talk about Dame real quick. So everyone that listens to this podcast, everyone that pays attention to the Blazers knows that Dame and his agent, mostly his agent, came out and said, he wants to be traded and he wants to go to Miami. And at one point, even though the agent claims he did not say this, at one point it was Dame will not play anywhere else but Miami. He'll sit out if he has to, like all these things, which we had talked about on our last podcast. Like, we didn't even think if Dame were to be traded to any other team or if he stayed here that he wouldn't sit out. Like, it just doesn't. That's not something that we, as much as we know Dame, that's not something that we think he would do. So from the get go, I kind of didn't believe it, but it felt more just kind of like a
Like posturing
way to, posturing and leveraging the trade. But the NBA came out with a memo to all the teams, all the players, essentially saying, you guys got to cut that shit out. No more demanding you're only going to play at one place and that's it. And I agree. There's not an issue with asking out and saying I want to be traded. Like, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. But when you start doing these picking where you want to go, the only way you should be able to do that is if you're Bradley Beal and you have that no trade clause and you can control where you go. So, I mean, the memo essentially said, if you do this, you're going to get fined. You can't do this anymore. And I'm glad they did it because it would become an issue. Do you want to add anything on that one?
I think you covered it pretty well. Again, I don't have an issue with most players asking out. It's more about how they do it, and forcing your way to only one team. It always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Even with Dame, it's happening a little bit. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the memo is going to do anything. But it's better. It's at least good to see it's on their mind, I guess.
Well, I mean, you have to take control of it somehow. Like, you can't let these play. Like, I mean, it already is a players' league, and these players are getting away with so much. I mean, you look at James Harden, who every year asks out to go to a different team every year, and it's like, at what point is it just becoming an issue where these players are just, I want out, I want out, I want out. Like, now he wants to go back to Houston where he was. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand how it got this way. It shouldn't get this way. But yeah, I have no issue with Dame. We've talked about this before. I had no issue with Dame asking out. I totally understand why he did. It's just that whole, I only want to play for Miami. And I still think that's probably where he ends up anyways. But just this whole, I only want to play there and that's all I'm going to play. That's an issue. That's all we're going to talk about. As much as we love Dame, and that's it. We've got to move on from it. We can't be doom and gloom Dame 24/7. One other thing I wanted to briefly touch on. We had a prediction, a bold prediction, a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday or the day before. Scoot came out and said he is going to win Rookie of the Year, and I think it's very possible. I think we all kind of know that the Spurs have a system that they run, and I don't necessarily expect Victor to be just going crazy and ISO and scoring 30, 25, 30 points a game, and it's possible. I definitely could see it. He's gonna have, especially if we trade Dame, he's gonna have the keys. He's gonna be able to do whatever he wants. So, I think it's possible. I don't know. It also, I guess, depends on health. If Victor gets hurt at all or has to miss some time, then I do think he's probably. I think he's probably the second. Like he has the second best chance, and um, honestly, I think he may even have the best chance just with how everything's going to play out. I think. But is there anything you want to add to the? So that's going to be what our third rookie of the year, fourth.
I actually don't
We have
remember
one
all
before.
time. But yeah, I was actually thinking about it like literally the day before he said it. I actually think he has a really, really good chance to win it. Um, like you said, Spurs, they might want to take it easy. Victor might just be that good that even if the Spurs kind of limit his minutes, he might win it anyways. But I think
Exactly. Yep.
Scoot is like from now on, or I guess from the second Dame is traded, but in my mind, he's not going to be here this season. He's the face of the franchise now, Scoot Henderson. He's going to have, the greenest light. He has the keys to the city or the team. Uh, he's going to be allowed to do pretty much whatever he wants. It's a tanking team. They're going to let him experiment, find what he's comfortable with. And I think, if you know, he has that talent, so and he'll be given the opportunity, so it's all up to him to, claim it. And it seems like his mentality is there. He's ready to make his mark in the league. So I think, you know, once the season starts, it's pretty much going to be his team, and he can definitely win Rookie of the Year if he wants to, and if he rises to that challenge.
And something I want to just say, we're not gonna talk too much on this because we don't know what's gonna happen. But if Dame is traded, I actually am really looking forward to seeing our new
Mhm.
offense and seeing how things are run because it's gonna be a lot more ball movement. Scoot is I think he's a much better true point guard than Dame is. Dame is definitely a better scoring point guard, but I mean, if you've seen Scoot play in the G League, if you saw, flashes of him in that first game, like he's a playmaker. He can I mean, it literally kind of just it does look like Russell Westbrook. Like that's what it reminds me of. And I'm excited to see it. His arms are so long. It's crazy seeing him out
He's
there.
so strong and
So
so
I'm
athletic
excited.
too. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Um,
Yeah, I'm really really excited for a post Dame era, like which surprises me that I'm saying that, but Scoot Sharpe, I think that's gonna be a really fun team to watch. Obviously Ant there as well, Jeremy Grant. Like, I don't think we're gonna be as bad of a team as people say. Again, unless we shut everyone down, like we've been doing the last couple of years. But I think that at least that first half of the season when everyone's playing, that's gonna be a really fun team, and I can't wait to watch it. Even if we're
yeah,
not
it's
always
it's
winning
gonna be
games, I
exciting.
think it'll be fun to watch.
I think it's gonna be like these last couple years have been
It's
kind of
been
hard to
brutal.
watch because they haven't necessarily been, um, like especially the year before when Dame was hurt. You just have these players that are out there, and you don't really have a chance. But now it's like we're trying to build something with these younger guys. So now you kind of get to see the development, and even if it doesn't mean we're winning, you get to see these players develop, and these are players that you're keeping and trying to build on. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I watched a lot of the games that were last year and the year before it when we were losing, and I still like was invested. And all the true Blazer fans are going to be invested. But I think it's gonna be a more enjoyable season with
I
or
think I
without
agree.
Dame. I think it's gonna be.
Especially since, without
Um,
if it is without Dame, or honestly even with Dame, that pressure of, you know, building the best team possible or else Dame is gonna ask out, like that pressure is gone. So I think
yeah,
that's
that's
like
a
a
great point.
weight lifted. I don't know if it's really on our shoulders or the front office, but it's like you can watch stress free, like this team, they're not winning this year. We're just watching them develop game to game.
hmm and essentially, what we've always said is like, pick a
Exactly.
side. Are we rebuilding or are we not? We now know. Like, I mean, it's pretty clear what's happening. And even if we were to keep Dame for now, we know that it's not. We're not trying to compete. So not trying to like be a
Yeah,
legitimate contender for a championship. So let's just
exactly.
enjoy basketball, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very weird that like I will not deny it's gonna be very weird if we do trade Dame in the first game out there and he's not out there. It's gonna be strange. Um, Something I wanted to talk about with you is Shaden Sharpe. A lot of us are excited for Shaden Sharpe just as much as we are excited for Scoot. Um, but here's the issue I'm running into when I sit here and think about it. We kind of have, once again, no surprise here, a log jam at the 1 and 2 spot, right? So we got Scoot, we got Simons, we got Sharpe. I believe Sharpe is a better fit at the 2 than the 3. But if you want to have your best players out there, you have to have Scoot at the 1, Simons at the 2, and Sharpe at the 3. And I don't necessarily think Sharpe can't play the 3. I think he probably could play it a little better than
That's
Norman Powell
exactly
could
what I was
play it.
thinking of right now.
But I don't necessarily, just like I didn't like Norman Powell at the 3, I don't necessarily like Sharpe at the 3 either. What's your thoughts on Sharpe, his fit? Is it better for him to come off the bench? Is it better for him to start? Like, what? How are you feeling about that whole situation?
If it was up to me in an ideal world, I think I would honestly start. Well, first of all, I would trade Ant, but assuming they're all on the team, I would probably start Scoot at the 1 and Sharpe at the 2, and then bring Simons off the bench. But just because we gave him a big contract, and he's the vet relative to those two, I think he obviously has to start. In that case, I would I'd go Scoot at the 1 and Simons at the 2. And I think just because we aren't contending, we don't need necessarily to worry about fit too much. I think I would start the season with Sharpe
True.
at the 3, and if it's like a complete disaster, then I might bench him. But I think like I don't like again, I'm good with both, but just because I want to give Sharpe as much opportunity as possible, let him play against other starters, what do you call it? Like throw him into the fire a little bit, even if he is a little bit outmatched, it might help his
Yep.
development. So I think I would start the season with him at the 3, even though he is more of a natural 2. If it's a complete disaster, you can change your lineups. You can just bench him, bring him off the bench as the 2. But yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at.
Now, and I agree with you. I think, and you made a good point. If we're not really contending, then yeah, it doesn't hurt to bring him out and put him on the 3 and give him more minutes. But the one thing I would be afraid of is he goes out there, he is going to be a little mismatched. He's not as big physically, like muscle wise, as a lot of the 3s are. And while I agree it could help his development and it could make him better, it also could hurt his confidence. It could hurt his development, and that would be my worry. Is now we're almost doing more harm than good by playing him at the 3 as much. I agree with you. I think we have to trade Simons. I don't like the idea of all 3 of those guys on our roster. I mean, I don't see to me, none of those guys should be coming off the bench, but realistically, one of them I feel like has to with what we have. So to me, as much as Simons is still a young player, but he's the odd man out, unfortunately. I mean, I've never been like insanely huge on Simons. I think he is a good player, and I think he's a valuable player, and some team will want him, and he'll be a good player for them. But I just never really thought the fit was there for us with him. It just seemed more like another CJ scenario. And while I do think he has potential on to improve still, I don't see the fit there. So this kind of segues into the last thing I had to talk about. We have Simons, who a lot of people say he's a point guard. We have Scoot, who is a point guard. What do you? I mean, I think we know the answer now from your last little spiel. But what do you? If it was your way, what would you do? Would you trade one of them? Would you keep them both? Like,
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
I would trade Simons, and I think that should have happened this summer, regardless of what happens with Dame. I think either way, we should have traded him. But I think trading Dame means we can afford to have the 3 guards for one more season, since again, we're not contending. It doesn't really matter if it's a bad fit, but I would want to capitalize on his trade value before before he gets a little bit too old, he kind of starts to plateau. Right now I think people still think he has a lot of room to grow, so I think it would have been better to trade him now. But I'm okay keeping him until the deadline. But I think at the deadline or absolute worst case next summer, he needs to be traded. Again, I'm with you. I think he's a good player. I think he'll improve. I don't think he has, that all-star potential that Scoot and Sharpe have, and that other teams, might talk themselves into right now. But I think, the more he plays, the lower some of his expectations might go. So I think trading him sooner is better.
Well, and I mean, if you send him to a team that is contending, he's a player that can come off the bench and give you instant offense, like we've seen with us. His offense is there. And if you trade him to a younger team that isn't, jammed up at the 1 and 2 spot like we are with 3 players that could be a starter for most teams, or what I mean, like they could be starters on teams. I think he could go on to some team and be, the number 2 guy and it not be an issue where you have, a ball dominant point guard, a ball dominant shooting guard, and then you have Shaedon Sharpe playing out of position at the 3. It's just the fit has never really been there to me. I just miss Wesley Matthews, man. All I ever think about. Like he was the perfect player for us. But yeah, nothing against Simons. It's not that I don't think he's a good player. I don't see having all 3 of those guys on our team. And I agree with you. I don't think he will ever be an all-star. I think Scoot has a chance at that, and I think I almost can guarantee you at one point Sharpe will be like that guy. Even though I thought we should have traded the 7th pick back when we had it, I mean, it looks to me like we made a good pick. He's got something. He may not be a Damian Lillard something, but he's got something. He will at least be a one-time All-Star. That dude is.
He's exciting for sure. I don't know if I'm
special.
there yet where I can say I think he'll definitely be an all-star, but I think he'll have a good chance. I like his game a lot. I just it's easy to get to. I don't know how to explain it, but it's easy to get to a point just below all-star where a lot of guards get to, but then that jump, not a lot of people can make. So I think he has it in him to make that jump. I need to see more. We basically saw him as a role player for 80% of the season. In the 20% of the season where he was a starter, he was a starter, right? I think so at the end. Yeah. What he showed was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
But it was 10, 15 games. I need to see a little bit more to have more confidence. But I liked what I saw.
Well, you're if we trade Dame and if we were to trade Simons this year, I think in the next 2, maybe 3 years, he would be an all-star. It would be that quick. He would. I mean, he essentially is going to be 1A, 1A, 1B, with the ball, and he's going to have as much freedom to do whatever he wants to do. The offense is going to go through him and Scoot, so his development is going to skyrocket if you were to move Dame and Simons, because there's just less competition for the ball at that point, and you get to just watch Sharpe put on highlight reel after highlight reel of both defensively. I don't this isn't just he's a great dunker. It's not just that. The dude plays defense. He can block shots. He can come from behind. He's so athletic. He makes up for any kind of if he gets beat, he can make up for it. It's something that I thought Simons could eventually do, but I don't feel like Simons ever really has got. There has been times where Simons has gotten beat and recovered quickly and, used his athleticism to kind of make up for it. But it's Sharpe does that constantly. Big time blocks, steals. I mean, I know it's summer league, but the amount of steals, fast break dunks that he had, I'm so excited for him. I'm trying to think the last player that I was this excited to see develop. I was excited for Dame to develop. Obviously back then I didn't know really much about Dame, so when we picked him, I was kind of this is a strange pick. And, he comes from a small school. But after just watching him a little bit, you were like, yeah, this guy has something special about this guy. And then you just watch him develop more and more. And you're like, yeah, this guy's great. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Sharpe. Like when I watch him play, even last year, when I watched him play, there was just these times where I'm like, this is exactly what like a NBA, like a very good NBA player does. And now if he can be more consistent with it, then that's when he becomes an all-star. So I'm excited for him. I can't wait to see him play more.
Sorry, there's I think just under 2 months until preseason. That was the date we said, right? October 5th, I think it was. Yeah, just under 2 months. So
October 5th.
we'll hopefully get to see him a lot in preseason.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm excited to see Scoot too, because we honestly only got to watch, 3/4 of them. So, but it'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun year. I'm excited to see what the offense is gonna look like and the defense. Honestly, I don't think we haven't signed a single player in free agency, right? Other than just like two-way players and like there's not been one single player we've signed.
Oh my god, yeah, I don't think we have.
I don't think we have. I don't think we've done anything. Which you got Christian Wood out there still. At this point, I don't see the point, but he's out there. Trying to think of if there's any other kind of big names that are out there. But yeah, I mean, this offseason has definitely not gone the way I thought it was going to go. But it also, at the same time, has cleared things up. So I'm not necessarily upset that it hasn't gone that way. We now know what's happening. Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about?
Sorry. Yeah, no.
I'm going to take no response as... Oh, you're there. Okay. So everybody, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but the Mega Millions, I believe is what it is up to 1.5 billion. I bought some tickets and I unfortunately have to report that I only won $4. So I'm not a billionaire yet. One of these days, maybe. So hopefully one of you guys bought the ticket and won. I honestly don't even know if anyone won, but that such a crazy amount of money. That's enough laptops for you every day for the rest of your life to buy a brand new one. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pump out podcasts when you don't have a lot to talk about. But we're going to do our best to keep doing it. And I do still want to do a listeners podcast. So if you guys are listening right now and that's something you're interested in, I know I won't shy away from it. Discord has definitely died down, and that's perfectly fine. Like if you don't have stuff to talk about, you don't just come in here to talk. But if that's something you want to do, that's where we do these recordings are in Discord. So join Discord if you're not. And if you are interested, I'll probably put out something and hopefully get some people that want to come on and talk and just spend some time together and talk some basketball. Other than that, everyone enjoy your night, enjoy your week, and football's about to start. So for, like I said, all you football fans, we're getting so close. Other than that, have a good night, everybody. Rip City, baby. Thanks to My Life Pursuing for the music used on the intros and the outros of this podcast. You can check them out on all major streaming platforms at My Life Pursuing.
I'm trying, Jennifer. I'm trying, Jennifer.